Viva la festival! Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear Danny. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today. I'll be fully honest with you, I did not realise that today was Viva la Festival. I did not make a custom thumbnail art for that, so I will have to do that later today, if I had time, that is. Because today is actually a very exciting day, I think, when it comes to regards to the D&D campaign sort of thing, where the first group is having their session 0 in nay but 50 odd minutes or so. So I have a little bit of time to record an Animal Crossing episode, eat some dinner, and then go on to running with session 0. Again, the session 0 is going to be quite lax and loose, so it's not really the most... Oh, wait, hold on. Welcome... Good evening, everyone. Right now, it's 6:09pm on... Monday the 12th of February in Fawnhollow. Sorry, I didn't read out Isabel's line, I just sort of skipped through it. And it's exciting. I mean, it's both exciting and then sort of like a ooh at the same time, because it's like it's actually happening. And I definitely don't feel like I've done like enough preparation for like a D&D campaign, but it's also like at the same time I'm very well aware of myself that like if I constantly think in the stage of I've not done enough preparation, I'll start it when I've done enough preparation. I will never start it because that's the sort of person I am where I'm like I want to prepare for every single possible situation, so I got to have every character ready. If there's no room for improv, but I think I got to realize now I'm actually okay at improving nowadays. I'm not going to say I'm like amazing. I definitely could not go on to like Saturday Night Live. I don't even think they do improv on Saturday Night Live. I couldn't go on like Whose Line Is It Anyway and just like be completely in my element of that sort of thing. I mean, I guess you might say it's a different thing, improving and improving comedy. It's more as like a specific subset, but it's not something I could just do. But I could probably improv a random character if they were just like, oh, who's that sitting over there? And I'd be like, oh, it's Gifrak, and you would be like, Gifrak. Okay, maybe Gifrak's not most creative name. It sounds a bit too similar to Gif Yankee, but I'd be like, it's Yakir, and they'd be like, who's Yakir? I didn't realise they rode the festival head crest as well. Be like Yakir, and I'd be like, oh, he's a half orc. He's a retired soldier from the Legion, the Legion of Steel, which runs the city, etc., etc. Something like that. And they go talk to him, it's the fantastic, I suppose, benefit of having 3 years of practice of recording and commentating over YouTube videos is that I am okay enough at improv. So I got to be like, I got to understand that it's okay to be set and have a plan and these sort of things, but I also got to be like, I got to admit to myself that some things are best left to improv, and you got to dive into these things with both feet first. And also crossed over and with arms crossed and nose pinched to make sure that you don't break any bones upon entering the water. But it's a sort of thing where, you just got to do it. And to be honest, since we're still on the topic of D&D, I suppose, I was going to initially do Theatre of the Mind sort of things with the campaign. Theatre of the Mind basically being like, you use your brain. You don't have any... Well, I don't know necessarily if you don't have any visuals. I suppose it sort of depends on the level of theatre of mindness you're doing. But the general idea being like, use your imagination and you can think of what's happening. And then if there's character art, there's character art. If there's not, there's not. I wasn't going to have a virtual tabletop except for only for combat, because I feel like combat without a virtual tabletop or without something physical is like nightmarish to try and figure out what on earth is going on. So that's what I was going to do. And I was looking at all these different like virtual tabletops just to be like, oh, what should I use and that sort of thing. Like, I mean, we can go through them and my personal gripes of them. Like, when I played online before with like another friend, she ran a campaign, we used Roll20. And Roll20 is fine, is what I'd say. It's like an accessible, free virtual tabletop, There's certainly are limitations on it. I think like as a GM you can only make like 2 maps or something, but you can have your stuff on there. You can have your character sheets, etc., and it's reasonable. It's reasonably intuitive to use. I think the bigger issue that people find with it nowadays is that they're very intrinsically linked to D&D, and also they had like that controversy like a while back where they just I can't even remember what they did, to be perfectly honest, but something weird happened like with the people who ran the company, and everyone was like, what the heck is going on, and then like started to stop using them. But I can't remember who I was saying this to, but over the pandemic I'm sure that there's been a huge bloom of these like online resources, I think, for things like D&D, because it's like, well, let's make D&D more translatable to the online landscape. And some things, you know, are, like really cool. Like I see a lot of I subscribe to some D&D-esque YouTubers. Normally it's only Z Bradshaw is the one I watch, but sometimes there'll be some others. Like I should subscribe to like Matt Colville or something, right? Because apparently his videos are like super good. I don't think I'm subscribed to Critical Role anymore. I might follow him on Twitch or something, despite the fact I don't really watch their videos. I might be subscribed to him. No, I think I am subscribed to him. But I don't really watch their videos or anything anymore. We need to get some sticks. So let's get some sticks first. Do we not have rocks? We do have rocks. If you wonder what I'm doing is I'm farming axes. I'm farming and breaking the axes. So I've seen like a few of them like here and there. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head because there's just like words which are like virtual tabletops in my mind, but I don't know if maybe they're modules in my mind or something. They got confused. Like Humblewood always comes to mind, but I'm pretty sure Humblewood is a module, the bird-based module. But there's another really popular one. Anyway, so Roll20 is like a super popular one. There's two which I saw, which I actually really, really liked, but decided not to go with in the end because of the intrinsic like systems they have were not super related to D&D. What kind of? Okay, so one of them I saw, which I actually really like the concept of, was Alchemy RPG. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Alchemy RPG is basically one which was designed for Theatre of the Mind. So basically, the way I saw it, it was like it's a sort of like a campaign manager, but mostly it's like scene transitions and that sort of thing. And I looked at it, I was like, it actually looks very cool. It looks very atmospheric, you know. It seems like on their trial thing, they were like, oh, they got like these really atmospheric environments, like preset artistic environments, and a load of ambient noises and things that you could utilize and that sort of thing. And I was like, that sounds really cool. It sounds like it's super easy to set up. It sounds like exactly what I wanted. And then like I made an account and I started using it, and I was like, oh, you have to buy all the modules to actually use the resources that they have. I mean, I can upload my own ones, mind you, but I was like, I kind of would like some pre-made things to work with. As fun as it is to, I suppose, find much more specific things when you need them. If I just want to find a specific forest, I really would have liked to use that like live digital wallpaper you had in the demo or something, and just use that instead. I'd be like, why not? Why not just give like 20 of them for free, or give like multi-packs or some of them? Because I was looking at the marketplace, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just buy, I mean, it's plausible that I could just spend some money to buy some of these cool multi-packs, but then it was just like £5 for one background. It was a cool live background, don't get me wrong, and I understand they must have a monetization system, like otherwise they can't really make any money whatsoever, but I was just like, I can't justify that. I can't justify that spending. Especially for the existence of another virtual tabletop, which we'll get onto in a bit. But that was pretty cool. There's also another one which was super, super cool, but I just don't think it translated well to exactly what I wanted from like a virtual tabletop sort of thing. And it was called, I think it was called One More Multiverse. Yeah, it's so cool. It basically is like a sort of mini engine thing to create your own quote unquote like pixel-based interface or virtual tabletop for game. Like, go search it up. It looks really cool. I saw it and I was like, wow, I think my players would absolutely love that because it looks so cool. But then I was just like, I was trying to like fiddle with like trying to make the character sheets and that sort of thing, and I just couldn't get it to work properly. And they didn't have all the characters like the races and subclasses built in, from what I understood it. And I was just like, there's also a lot of work to build these environments in the first place, and I was just like, I'm not sure if that's what I'm looking for. What I kind of want was in non-combat situations, I just want like a nice scene to look at and that sort of thing with ambient noise, and maybe I could bring up like the profile pictures or like portrait pictures of the NPCs who are there and they're talking. You know, kind of like I'm making a visual novel, I suppose, behind the scenes, which this didn't quite allow. But I was like, it's fine, you know, if you had like a campsite, maybe I can make like a small campsite area and they can all make their own. Another cool thing is you can design your own sprites on it to make your own characters, and then you can move them about like it's an actual RPG. And I was like, this is actually genuinely a really cool thing, but it just doesn't quite pan out exactly how I expected to, because I didn't get super into it, but it didn't seem like I really understood how to use the automations and stuff all that well. There was a lot of like modular packs and that sort of thing, and I was just like, it's going to take so long for me to build any environments in this sort of thing. But it does look really, really cool. I will give it that much. It's one of the most unique things I've seen. There's some other really cool ones, like there was one called Owlbear something barbarian. Like I have them all bookmarked, to be honest. Owlbear Rodeo, which is basically a super simplistic way to do combat, and I was like, this is how I'm going to do combat. I would just like use this as like a simple map sort of thing, and then like I'll use Theatre of Mind for the rest of it. That was my initial plan. But then, you know, elephant in the room, got to talk about Foundry Virtual Tabletop, because it's the one that everyone talks about. And I initially was like, I'm not gonna do it. It's a paid like thing, and I'm like, I can't necessarily justify that in my head to actually purchase something which I don't even know how long I'm going to use, or how much I'm necessarily going to use it, and that sort of thing. And I would say, bearing in mind, I thought it would be like very expensive. I thought it would be not sponsored, by the way, not sponsored. I thought it was going to be like 200 something pounds, and I was like, I ain't doing that. Or it's like a subscription model. I just heard it cost money to use. I was like, that's not happening. But then I just kept seeing stuff, and one of the things that like pushed me towards it was the fact I was looking at stuff at Alchemy RPG. I was like, I want to kind of use this, but I want to have like animated backgrounds and that sort of things. And then most people were just like, I don't know why you would use this if you could just use Foundry Virtual Tabletop, which does both this and does everything else on top of it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll check out what Foundry Virtual Tabletop is. And I looked at it, and then I saw like some tutorials of like how to do like Theatre of Mind sort of things on there, and I was like, okay, you got me, this is actually kind of cool. It's the worst thing about it is the fact that its learning curve seems insane. It has so many like different things to do, and it feels like a brick wall, I'm sure, trying to figure out exactly how, what, who, what, where, how to do, like, not anything in it, but how to do some of the things in it. And it's just like, this is crazy. But I suppose that in its own way is a good thing, because using it as a player doesn't seem too crazy. It just seems like you have a lot of like options here and there. But as a DM, I suppose the fact that you have like a huge amount of options to begin with means that you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. It's sort of like the sky's the limit. And the best thing about it is the fact that it has a mod scene, or whatever, like a pretty big mod scene with like all these different things. So even if it doesn't have a built-in functionality you want, someone's probably made a mod of it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Okay. And then the final nail in the coffin was like, okay, fine, I'll look at what the pricing was. I looked at it. It's £40. That's not bad for a virtual tabletop. That's like, oh no, technically it was actually £48 because I had to pay tax on it as well. But that's not bad. That's like a AAA game. So I was just like, that's a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 4 times as expensive as that. And I was like, okay, you know, we'll take it. You know, you might be like, why didn't you ask your players to like foot some of the bill? And I'm like, I ain't going to be about that life and that sort of thing. Like, my players can, if they want my players to pay me back some way, they can pay me back in a different way. They don't have to fund the cost, I suppose, of the thing as well. But it's cool because you can have like a host server, then everyone else, they don't have to download anything, they can just join in through their web browser. The only thing that made me sort of like raise an eyebrow at it was the fact that you had to do it, they can only connect via your IP, which is, you know, I mean, it's fine because I'm playing with friends, I trust it more, but I was just like, I don't know how you would ever do this without, I mean, I guess you'd probably like host your own server somewhere, to be perfectly honest, but I don't know necessarily how expensive that was. But yeah, it sort of like threw me back when it was just like, oh, you had to set up port forwarding to actually use this properly, and I was like, whoa, that's a heck of a throwback to like running Minecraft servers. Oh, I just came up with a recipe for a golden axe. Oh, it didn't actually take that long for us to do so. There we go, golden axe. Why don't we go make all the golden tools right now? It's been long enough that we should, it's about time, you know, that we actually put these into practice. Let's actually get this Nook Mard achievement. I'm pretty sure we've made the golden watering can, so we don't need to make that one. But yeah, it was a really cool virtual tabletop. There was another one, like the ones which I also thought were really cool were like the 3D ones I saw. I can't remember what they're called. I know the D&D have like an official one of that sort of thing. That one I can't imagine will have a great modding scene, and I'm sure it will be tied to the actual modules themselves. To be fair, officially supported is pretty cool, but at the same time, like, I'm buying all these modules. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm just using Wiki. I'm using Homebrew. But the 3D-ness of it looks really cool. Hold on, what was that other 3D virtual tabletop? Apparently, you could do 3D without Foundry anyway. So, like, what am I even talking about? There was one which was pretty, I was like, seems pretty cool, but then people were just like, Tailspire, I think that was it. They were like, they shot themselves in the foot because the pricing model is crazy, because every single person needs to own a copy of Tailspire to actually use it, which seems so wasteful. Like, there's no way I can be like to my friends, hey, can you all buy this £30 game? of something which you will never use, but just so you can see my stuff. And I was like, that's silly. Foundry 3D is pretty cool though. I didn't know it was that. The only concern I have, is, I suppose, of Foundry is it being like necessarily quite finicky to work with, and modules, you know, being unsupported by necessity of the fact they're not official developers as well. So there's always like a bit of a timeline before stuff can happen. Do I have a confetti thing? I must have a confetti. Woo! I love how Dead Vivian's reactions are to my emotes. It's like she does not even care. We should dance with her. We can dance with during these last sort of conversations. Which one is the festival dance? Is it this one? No. Vivian just does not care. Is it this one? Alright, she's off. She had enough of me. Right, well I guess we'll just sort of throw confetti here, then whatever happens, happens. So yeah, we'll be seeing how that goes. I think the thing that really pushed me over was when I was having a conversation with another friend about it, and they were like, oh, you know, I'm going to use something to... They didn't say in these exact sort of words, but I was like, we're going to use probably Theatre of Mind, and maybe I'll use like tabletop sim to do like battles and that sort of thing. And they said something basically along the lines of like, oh yeah, as long as I can use... I was just wondering like what tool we might use, or if there is an like official tool we have to use for character sheets or that sort of thing, because they want to use it like in the way that they won't have to calculate the things themselves, which is totally fair, because that is like not always the most interesting part, I suppose, of playing D&D. Being like, oh yeah, I've got to remember all my proficiency bonuses and stuff like that. So it sort of pushed me over to be like, that was one thing I did like about using Roll20s, the fact that it had the built-in sort of things. You could just click it and be like, oh, it would roll using that stat for you. You didn't have to even think about it. So I was like, that's sort of like what shifted me to be like, okay, let's actually take a serious look at these virtual tabletops rather than just sort of writing them off. Because the D&D mechanics are still an important part to people, you know. Despite the fact that I'm just kind of like here for lore. I'd be totally okay if we all just like sat in a circle and told stories, but I do want to interface with the actual mechanics themselves, because I'm sure I know interesting stories can be born, I suppose, from those dice-laden mechanics. And something which makes it, I suppose, easier for everyone is good. I don't mind things being annoying or complicated for me. I want them to be as simple for the recipient as possible, you know? It's the sort of thing like if you put on like a stage performance, you know, you do all this like background crew work, and you know, you put all this effort into it, and then it just feels like flawless to do when it goes onto the big stage. That's what I want. Audie's always here for me, always gonna dance to me. Oh, I wanna dance to somebody. They just don't care. They really hate it when I dance. Alright, fair enough. I don't think my dancing was that bad, but yeah, I guess I gotta make a festival. If I'm like that, if I don't, that means I forgot. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to round this episode off here. We'll see how Foundry Virtual Tabletop goes. I think it's something which will become much cooler the more we use it. Like, it's going to be like a weird, awkward start. We're basically just going to use it to calculate stats for us and do dice rolls for us and have some pretty pictures here and there. But then as I get like more proficient with it, as I can do things more quickly with it, then I think we'll start getting some cool stuff. Hopefully. Again, DMing is a lot of work, but it's a lot of work which will end up being fun work, you know? It's the sort of work that I enjoy. I mean, I enjoy a lot of work, to be honest, but so maybe that's not really saying much. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here, I think. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now. Also to reiterate, not sponsored. Be cool if I could get sponsored. Hello, Vivian, you're back.